am not gonna lie, holding this up right now is terrifying. I'm afraid I'm gonna smash all of them. Hey guys, and welcome back today for a brand new video. We are going to be doing a Huda Beauty ranking video. I'm so excited for today. We are going to be ranking all of my Huda Beauty eyeshadow palettes. I have quite a few. I have a larger Huda collection. So I'm excited to share with you guys like my favorite palettes from her. Some that I think are like complete duds, and then some that I really love. So I'm gonna be ranking them from my least favorite to my favorite. I hope you guys are excited for this. If you do like these ranking videos, let me know. We can do more of them. Let me know what brand you'd like to see down in the comment section. And let's go ahead and get started with the ranking. I do have 23 different Huda palettes, so you're gonna see me ranking 23 down. So first on my list is the Coral Obsessions palette. I actually have this one up on my Poshmark right now, and I had to go grab it from like that pile of stuff, but this is just my least favorite. It's really the color story for me. It's not that I don't like love the formula of this, but because I do think it's a really good formula. It's more the color story. I purchased this because I was so excited for another one of her Obsession palettes to come out with. If you guys don't know, she has her original Obsessions. Like she had like the Smoky, oh my gosh, I can't even think. There was like the Smoky, I'm having a hard time remembering the rest, but there was like a few of them. I think there was like 3, and then she started to come out with a few more, and the Coral was the next one to come out in that line. I love these palettes. I think they're great. They're $29 and they're great quality. But this one for me, I purchased it because I was so excited for another one, but it's the color story for me that I don't use a ton, and that's why it's coming in at the bottom here, is just because I don't reach for these coral shades a lot. I don't particularly love them on my eyes. I like more like pinks and more like reds if I'm gonna go that way, instead of just like these corals. So for that reason, it is at the bottom of my list. Not quality wise, just for the reason of I don't love the color story. Now, one that is coming in next at my list at 22 is the Amethyst Obsessions, and this one is for the actual formula because I don't love these ones. She came out with the jeweled collection. I have another one you guys will see in a minute, but this one just wasn't my favorite. I feel like it was the color story in particular that I was excited about out of this collection. This purple, I was like so excited about it. But for me, the quality of these ones just isn't at par with her other Obsession palettes. They're just a little lackluster. The mattes are fine, like they work good, like the mattes are okay. It's the shimmers for me that are just like, they're almost like chalky in a way. I don't know how else to like explain it aside from I feel they are chalky, and they're just not like as pigmented as her other Obsession palettes that I love from her. So for that reason, this one did land the next spot. And then I also have the Ruby Obsessions. This is part of the same collection. That one's going to come in at 21 here. So same thing, just quality wise, I don't think that these are as good as her other palettes, and for that reason, that's why they're a little bit lower. I am on Huda Beauty's PR list. I did want to mention that. So a lot of these were gifted to me. I don't think I would have purchased this collection in general, but that's why a reason I do have a lot of her palettes is because she does send me like her full collections, so I do receive them in PR, and I do really enjoy the brand, so I'm thankful for that. But I did want to mention that in case you guys are wondering, like, wow, you have a lot of Huda palettes. A lot of them are gifted to me. Anyways, this one is going to come in next simply just because this isn't like my favorite formula. It's not horrible, but I just don't love these ones. Something about the quality of these ones just felt a little bit off compared to her other Obsession palettes. Next coming in at 20 is one of her neon palettes. This is called the, oh my gosh, Neon, I can't even find the name on here, but it's like her pink neon palette. I think they have names, but this one is coming in next, and these ones are okay. I do like the concept behind them. I love like the neon, but for me, these aren't like super neon palettes. I think that they kind of are, like if you look at them, but with like the purples and stuff, I don't feel like they are like you have those brighter shades. But I think when I look at this, I'm like thinking I'm gonna have like a ton of pink neon, and this one, it has like more purples, but it is a pretty palette. I do think that the shimmers in this one are much better than the last two I was mentioning. I think that this is like her typical Obsession palette formula. It's just really that I don't reach for this color story a bunch. And then I did also put the next neon palette also at the next spot, and this one is the red one, and I again apologize, I don't know the name on these, but again, they're fun. It's a fun concept for the like pops of neon in here, but I don't feel like they're like neon enough. Like I feel like she could have went a little bit further, and again, quality is really good on these. I just feel like just conceptual wise, I was a little bit disappointed with these neon palettes, but I do think they are really nice. I love the packaging. It's just more like I have to rank up somewhere, right? I love the rest of the palettes, so do keep that in mind. I'm kind of just going based upon the color stories at this point. Coming in at number 18, I actually have one of her newer releases. This is the Wild Tiger palette. I really loved these palettes. I did a review on them. If you're curious, I have looks with all 4 of the eyeshadow palettes that came part of this collection. The Tiger one was my least favorite, I think, out of all of them, but I do think it's a really good palette. Quality-wise, definitely there on these. Just color story, I don't think that this is one that I find myself reaching into. I've only used it 2 times aside from the review. Like, I used it once in the review and then one other time. I think it's just the color story for me. It's just like something I have in a lot of my other palettes, so for me, it's not like something I'm running to use, but it is a nice palette quality-wise. I love her pans like this, or her 9-pan palettes, because I feel like they are very color specific. So if you're someone who wants a certain color story, I think a lot of times she does these really well is because they're smaller, but they're giving you like that color story that you need. So like, for example, if you really like a smoky look, you can use the smoky palette. We're gonna get to that one, but I just like that they are kind of smaller palettes that are color waves that I think a lot of people gravitate towards this style of palette. So I do like that she does her 9-pans. You guys will see some of her larger palettes here in a little bit as well. Next in my ranking here at number 17, I do have another one of the neon palettes. This one was the green one. I like this one a little bit more than the other palettes, but again, I don't reach for these a ton just because neons aren't something I'm using a bunch, but this is the one that I feel like she did the best out of the neon collection with those greens, and I like all of the jewel toned colors in here as well. I think it's a really pretty palette. One of my favorite looks I did with this one is actually I paired the green and I put this blue on top, and I know it sounds weird, but it looked really cool. So that was one of my favorites with this palette. Next up at 16, I actually have another one of the jewel palettes. This one is the Topaz. I do really like this one, and quality wise, again, on this one I think is really good, and I like the color story of this. It reminds me a lot of fall. This is when I reach for in the fall time. I really enjoy like these more like orangey shades a little bit more than the other shades a part of this collection. So I do really like this one, and again, I think the quality is good on this one. So that's where I think her jewel collection was a little bit off, because like I said, some of them weren't my favorites, but then some of them performed fine. So I just think the formulation, at least in the ones that I got, was a little off on that collection, but I do like this one a lot. All right, so we are into our top 15 palettes now, and next on the list I actually have the Nude Lights palette. So she came out with this nude collection, and she had inside of here the nude, I believe there was a medium and a dark nude as well, and I, out of the collection, kept the light palette, and I do love this one. I love the color story. The reason I'm ranking it a little bit lower is because I do feel like it's a little bit too light for me personally. I think I should have kept the medium palette, because I think that these shades, although they're beautiful and I come up with some really pretty looks with this, they are a little bit light for me in particular. Like these ones, these two in particular, I feel like when I use them, you can barely see them. Like I really have to build them up. These shimmers in here though are absolutely gorgeous, and I love the shimmers in here. So if you're like a little bit lighter skin tone than me, then this is perfect for you. You can use it, obviously I can use it, anyone can use it, but I do think it's kind of geared with those lighter shades more towards someone with a light skin tone, which is what she meant to do with these. So I do think it's a really nice palette. Like I said, formula wise, everything is good about it, but I just don't reach for it as much as the rest of the palettes you're gonna see. Next up, I have the Pastel Rose palette coming in at number 14. This, I'm gonna say, similar to the light palette. I feel like the tones in this one are very similar as far as the mattes that she has in here. They are just very sheer. So this shade and this first shade here, I feel like on me, I really have to build those up / pack them on. They don't really show up on my lid, so that's another reason why I'm ranking this one lower, but I do love the shimmers in here. I think she did a good job with these pastel palettes with these shimmers, because they're really cool. First off, they have like that little thing that she does with her palettes where she has the little specialness to them, but the yellow in here is so pretty over top of the other yellow. So the shimmers in here are great. I love them, but it's just those two mattes that just rank it a little lower for me. Next, for number 13, I actually have her Desert Dusk palette. This was actually my first Huda Beauty palette that I purchased from her, and this one I feel like got a lot of love. I know she has her original palette. I actually don't have that one, but this was her second release when it came to eyeshadows. I do think it's a really nice palette. I really do enjoy it a lot. I have used it a lot. As you can tell, it's quite used. I like this one. The reason I'm putting it a little bit lower than the other palettes is just because I simply don't use it as much as the rest of them. I love the rest of them a little bit more. It also has the pressed glitter in there, which I'm glad she stopped doing that. I feel like she did that. I want to say this is the only palette that has the pressed glitter, but I just don't love the pressed glitters. I think she got the feedback from this one and was like, okay, we're not going to do that because this is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is her only palette with that in it. So I don't love the pressed glitter, but the shade Twilight, you can see I've used a ton of it, is probably my favorite shade in this palette. I also really enjoy the shade Retrograde. Both of those are really fun duochrome shifty shades that look absolutely stunning on the eyes. Like when you turn, it's so good. I think her matte formula is where she shines in particular in these palettes because I feel like it's so blendable, so smooth, really nice. But the shimmers in here, in particular, those two shimmers are just like amazing. She kind of has two different formulas. She has her like bam in your face shimmers, and then she also has like the more topper shimmer shades. So you'll kind of see that throughout the palettes. A lot of her Obsession palettes I feel like have the topper shades in them. I think she kind of uses those shimmer shades to kind of give you that pop in the palettes. Like they look like they're going to be really pigmented, and then when you grab them you're like, wait a second, but they are really pretty in their own way. They just kind of have more of like a reflectiveness, but I do recommend you put them like over top of another shadow to get the most like bang with her formula. We are really getting into all of the palettes I love right now. Coming in at number 12 is the Khaki Haze palette. I really loved these ones. Her Haze line, you guys will see another one in a second, but I thought she did a great job with the color stories in these ones. I love the packaging of them. I think they're so beautiful. And this one in particular, I love just for the browns alone. I think that browns are one of my favorite colors to wear. And I think that this one just looks so pretty. While I was talking about those topper shades, this corner one, the purple or the like pinkish purple, is a topper, and it looks so gorgeous over these other browns in here. It's a beautiful palette. I have nothing bad to say about this one. I love it, and it's great for fall as well. So if this one is still available, I would recommend snagging it. It's such a good palette. Next here at 11, I have another one of her wild palettes. So this one is the Chameleon palette, and again, I really enjoy this one. I like the formula a lot. I think she did a really, really great job with these palettes. And when I was talking about the topper shimmers that she does, this one has just like regular shimmers in there. This is the only one that I believe is a topper, and this color story I just think is so fun. I love, love, love this purple shade down here. It is absolutely gorgeous over the lid. It's a regular shimmer, so it's like packing the punch. It's very, very shimmery, very bright, very foiled. It's beautiful, and I just have nothing bad to say about this one. It's a great palette. Love it. I just had to rank it somewhere. We've got our top 10 now. I have next for you guys the Lilac palette, and this was part of her pastels collection. I just love this palette. I really just love the purples. I love purple on me. It's one of my favorite colors to wear. I will say that these, like this shade right here, is a little bit light as well as this one, but it's the rest of the shades in here that I'm just like, it's just so, so good. She just does purples, in my opinion, so well. I love this color right here. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's really just the shimmers in here that has me loving this palette so much, because the mattes, like they're good, but I just feel like it's the shimmers that make me love this one so much. Number 9, I have her Toffee Browns palette. So this was a collection where she came out with, I believe it was again 3 different brown palettes. I actually only ended up keeping the toffee one because I feel like this was the color story I was going to use the most, and I was right. It's a beautiful palette. Again, formulation on here is really nice. She has more of these chunky shimmers she's kind of starting to introduce. I guess I didn't mention that when I was talking about her 2 other formulas, but these are also really pretty on the lid. They kind of give off like kind of similar to what I have on my eye right now, just kind of more of like a chunky glitter look. But this palette is really nice. Again, perfect for fall. It has those browns in it that I love so much, but you always get like those mustards as well. So I think this one is really good. I love the packaging as well. I love that she did like the it's not like a glitter because it's like smooth here, but I just love like that look because I kind of feel like it shifts. I feel like she does packaging so well. It's like, I feel like what she's most known for is her really great packaging. The next palette that I have for you guys right here is the Sand Haze. This is coming in at number 8. I love this palette. I have a hard time like ranking these recipes because I was like, I really love them all so much, but this one is just like my go-to. If I want like a neutral look, this is the palette I reach into. It's so beautiful. I think that all of these colors in here, especially on me, I feel like look really nice. I love that you can do the reds if you want to do the reds, but you can also do the golds, you can do purple, you can do a brown look. Like there's just a lot of variety in this, and that's why I love it so much, is because I feel like I can get like so many different looks out of just 9 pans. So that's the reason this one is coming in at where it is. And then the rest of these, you guys, when I tell you they were like so hard to rank, they were very hard to rank. But next up, I have the Naughty palette. I do really like this one from her, and I know a lot of people were like, how do we feel about this one? Because it does have that one shade in it that kind of looks like mold, if I'm not if I'm not lying, but it's such a nice palette, you guys. I highly recommend this. She did this, I believe, for last year holiday, and it just has a lot of uniqueness to it. And I think it's those swirl pans that really just like make it a unique palette, but they really do have a unique look to them on the eye. I don't know how to explain them, but they just have something different about them when you apply them. They kind of give off like this like jeweled look, but it's like a duochrome, but it's not a duochrome, it's just a shimmer. It's really cool. So this is a great palette. I highly recommend it if you are into this kind of color story. It's kind of more of like a wine type of palette, but you also have your more orangey shades in here, and I think that you can do a lot with this one. I have done a lot of looks with it. I don't care much for this palette or the shade in here. I know this is what everyone lost their mind over. I could do without that one. I don't feel like it really does anything, honestly, but the rest of the colors in here are really beautiful. Okay, and then we have number 6 right here. We have the Python palette, again, a part of her Wilds collection. I love this one. I love the blue in it in particular. This is kind of like that chunky shimmery shade that I was mentioning. It looks so gorgeous. This middle blue here, this is more of that topper shade, and it's so pretty underneath this brown. I love that you have like kind of those neon shades in here again, but these ones are very neon in this palette. Like you can definitely get a neon look with it. So this one's great. Again, love the color story. Loved this collection. I thought she did an amazing job with it. We are now into my top 5 palettes, you guys. I cannot believe it. Up next, I have another one of her pastels. This is coming in at number 5. This is the Mint version. I love this palette. I think it's so cute, and I think that this is my favorite out of the pastel palettes, but the blues in it are the reason I love it. I love blues, I love purples, but this one just looks so good. And I feel like with pastel palettes, sometimes the quality isn't there for me. Like sometimes you really need to like either pack them on the lid, you need to like put down a certain base, like they're kind of finicky, but for me this one works really well. Like I've created lots of looks with this, and I feel like every time I create the look, I love it. Like I love the way it turns out. This bottom shade right here is absolutely stunning. It's again one of those kind of like duo shifty shades. Like she just does these little swirl pans so nicely. This shade as well is really gorgeous, this like green. It's just a pretty palette. I really enjoy this one. Next up we have number 4. This is the Purple Haze palette. Again, a really cool color story with this one. I love that you have the reds in it, but you also have like this burnt purple shade. This is pretty unique to my collection. I know you look at it and you're like, how is that unique to your collection? But I don't feel like a lot of people do that type of shade, and I really love it. It's so pretty for just like an all matte look. If you just put this purple like all over your lid, it's so gorgeous. Also, the shimmers in here, again, really pretty. I loved, like I said, this color, but if you put this pink over top of it, it just does like a really cool like purpley pink eye. It's just so pretty. The reds in here, again, really nice. I love the mattes in here as well. They're perfect. So this one is a really great palette. Okay, we are officially in my top 3. Leave a comment down below what you think number 1 is right now, because I want to know if you guys can guess. But next up I have the Smoky Obsessions at number 3. I love this palette. I have created so many looks with this one. This one is just like one that's went traveling with me a lot. It's such a good palette. I love the matte black in here. I reach into this all the time when I'm doing like any sort of smoky eye, even if I'm not using this palette. I love the matte black in here. It's super black. I love the browns. Like I said, love browns, and she does the matte browns so well, but it's the silver in here. It's the silver that I constantly reach for when I grab this palette. It's such a pretty shimmer. It looks just like wet, foiled on the eye. You don't have to do a lot with it. Like you can use your finger, you can use a brush. It's really great. And then you also have those golds as well that are also really pretty. This is just like a standout palette for me. I know it's old. I know you can't even barely get this one. Like you can sometimes find it, but it's such a good one. If you can get your hands on it, I highly recommend. Now we are into my top 2. I have up next the Jaguar palette from the Wild collection. I have not been able to stop using this ever since I got it. I love this palette. I know a lot of you really loved it on that video too. You said that it was your favorite. You were planning to purchase it. It's so good, you guys. It's so good. I love this matte shade right here. This is like my favorite type of shade to go in with, just like initially pop that in my crease. It's so good. But also the purple right here in that like topper formula is so pretty on its own. I know I said like those work best with like a base, but if you put that on just like on your lid and you top it, I actually did it last night. It looks so pretty. It kind of just like gives you like that subtle sparkle. It's so gorgeous. The green in here is really pretty. You have the gold, the pink. There's just a lot in this palette, and I think it's different. Like it's a different color story that we're not used to like super seeing all the time, and I just think it's beautiful. Again, you get a matte black in here. I love her matte black, so you kind of see that that's similar to the other one, but it's just such a good palette. You get that brown. Everything that I love in one is in this palette right here. So that leads us now to our final palette, and you guys, It is the Mercury Retrograde. Let me know if you guessed this one. I have been raving about this palette ever since I got it. It is hands down my favorite Huda palette, if not my favorite palette in my collection. It probably is, because I love this palette. I would use it every day if I could. Like, if I could only use one eyeshadow palette, I probably would use this one. I love this palette. The quality on this, you guys, is amazing. It's such a good staple for me. And I know that a lot of people look at this palette and they're like, oh, what could I create with that? Like, I don't know, like, if I could create a look with this, but you can, I promise. The shades look a little intimidating, but they are not at all. They're beautiful on the eyes. They're so easy to work with. And I love this teal shade too. I know that that kind of looks like, oh, I don't know if that would work, but it's so pigmented. It's so nice. So again, favorite palette by far. Highly recommend. You can get your hands on this one. I know it is still available. It's so good. I also really want to give a shout out to the shade Libra right here. This one, again, all over your lid. Just like tap it, do a matte look. Beautiful. I don't know what else I can say besides it's just my favorite. I love the packaging. It's like clear. It's just beautiful. Every single time I use this palette, I get so many compliments. Everyone's like, what's on your eyes? What's on your eyes? What's on your eyes? And I'm like, it's this. You need this. I know it's expensive. It's a $65 eyeshadow palette, but she often does put this one on sale. She also does sales on her website as well. So if you can snag it at a discount, grab it. If you can't, if you have to pay full price, grab it anyways. I paid full price when I bought it and I didn't regret it for a second. I think it is such a good palette. All right, you guys, that is going to do it for my ranking of Huda Beauty's eyeshadow palettes. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope you found it fun, fascinating to see what my favorite palettes were. I'm sorry if it was like a little chaotic at times. Both my kids are actually sleeping right now. That never happens, so I'm trying to like bust this out while I can. But thank you again for watching. Comment down below if you want me to do another brand. We could do like ColourPop, ABH, whatever you wanted to see next. Definitely let me know. And I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.